right, Joe. It's Happy New Year. New year, same old COVID.
Yeah, Happy New Year indeed. I already lost on my New Year's diet on day one.
I lost on my New Year's resolution, which is not to get sick.
Ooh, yeah, no.
I had a slice of coconut cake 19.
Mm,
I don't know why I bit into it. I hate coconut cake.
no, can't do that. Can't do that. No
No,
coconut.
no. Coconut's bad. It's almost as bad as pineapple on pizza. But
Clearly, you didn't wash your hands and wear your masks.
I was. I was doing everything I can. Some people unfortunately weren't. But I'm feeling fine, so
That's the important thing.
that's the important thing. The other important thing is we finally have news in baseball. We finally have a lot of good news and one rather disappointing bad news. But we'll get to
Yeah,
the good news first.
yeah. Of course, we take 1 week off and like all hell breaks loose.
Yeah,
So,
we've been waiting how many weeks? How many months? We waited all of December. And we'll start with the biggest one, which is DJ LeMahieu. Finally, after all these, is he not? Is he going to sign with the Yankees? Or are the Blue Jays going to swoop in? Maybe the Dodgers come in. Maybe the Mets, the Astros. Nope, he's back with the New York Yankees, and for a rather surprisingly long and low contract.
yeah, that's
Six,
what threw me off a lot.
yes, 6 years, only $90 million guaranteed. Now, at the time we're recording this, the 19th, this has not been finalized yet, so we don't know what incentives might be laced into this.
Hmm.
But a straight 15 million a year for 6 years. One, it's as I said, we were thinking 5 years would get it done, not six. And two, we thought he would go for 20, 25, 23 million. That even in this depressed market, uh, a 2 years running top five MVP would have garnered him more money. But there
Yeah,
are also guys who've said that they'll take a certain amount and just will hammer out the years.
yeah.
That we've had it in football with Tom Brady with the Patriots, always uh, taking a little less each year so that the team can reinvest it.
Yeah. Well, Big Ben of the Steelers has been restructuring his contract for the last since he's been in the league since 2005. And basically, like every other year, he's restructured his contract, and next year he's scheduled to make $41 million.
Jeez.
Yikes! So it's finally caught up to him. But we'll get into football later. But yeah,
Yeah,
this contract for LeMahieu was a bit puzzling for me. I mean, it's sort of like I think it was Tino Martinez who took a nice team-friendly deal years ago with the Yankees. No, Paul O'Neill. Paul O'Neill
yeah.
took a really nice team-friendly deal, and with LeMahieu only commanding about $15 million per year, uh, that sort of for me was like, all right, I guess he's getting his 90 million. He's gonna play 6 years. I mean, but 6 years brings him to 38. I mean, yeah, you can play, but it's not like a pitcher where you can be like Nolan Ryan and pitch till you're like 46. Um,
I mean, it's also not like this is David Ortiz we just signed who can't play the field.
yeah,
This is the MVP version of Zobrist right now. He
yeah,
can
so,
play third, second, first. They claim he can play shortstop. I don't believe that. You can
hmm,
stick him in the corners. You can put him at DH when Stanton is injured.
yeah. Um,
This is a guy who is your 10th man on the roster. That you play everyone 6 days a week, and DJ is the guy who fills in when all the other guys are have their days off.
yeah, but he's the number one guy on the team.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
he's
He's
the
number
tenth
10, but he's also number
he's
one.
the 10th man and the first man. Now the only thing that I will say is a downer with DJ is this cements the extreme imbalance of the lineup for the Yankees. LeMahieu is being back. Now the Yankees have 8 right-handed hitters and one switch hitter in their starting nine. Now they've been talking. They want to bring back Brett Gardner. We remember very early in the offseason they were linked to Michael Brantley, who's basically the outfield version of LeMahieu.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. this left them about a 14 to $15 million of space when the deal was reported to do stuff moves. But since then, some more money was taken off the board. That the Yankees got their pitching help,
Yeah,
but it
so
wasn't from anyone we expected.
well, actually, no. I figure once the Yankees had signed LeMahieu and it was for 15 million, I was like, oh, that's enough money to sign Corey Kluber. But I would not have given him. What did he get? 11 million.
$11 million, way
So
more
I,
than
I would have
every.
only given him 8. He's had 2 really bad injury-plagued seasons. Yes, he's a former 2-time Cy Young Award winner, but as we've seen with Timmy Lincecum, those Cy Youngs mean nothing if you can't do more than like 5 years of work. Um, so
Yeah,
I would have only given him 8, with maybe if he stayed healthy, then throw in it as like a not a signing bonus, but like a performance bonus.
well,
Um,
clearly, other teams were like that because at least one other team is reported to have offered him more money, but on a 2 year, a, a either a 2 year or a 1 year with a club option. But Kluber insisted that he wanted just a 1 year pillow contract to rebuild his value, and it hit the market as a 36, I believe 36-year-old after this next season.
yep.
That and probably maybe earn like a Rich Hill contract with 2 3 years at the tail end. Certainly, that Corey Kluber is a guy who can last. He came up late in metaphorically in his career.
Hmm.
Doesn't have much mileage. Rather than speed, he relies on movement, which can be a little more lasting.
And like
Only
we
cons-
said, he's missed really the last 2 seasons mostly, so it's even less mileage on the arm.
Yeah, last year's shoulder tightness is concerning because like it grew up. The year before was he got his arm was fractured after hit by a line drive. That's not his fault.
Hmm.
And also he has earned an incredible rapport with the young pitching arms in Cleveland, showing them to do the right thing, how to
Hmm.
conduct themselves. And what do the Yankees have? They have Debbie Garcia, Jordan Montgomery, who are young, Domingo Herman, who's screwed up and could use a
Severino when
refreshing.
he gets back. I mean,
Well,
I
yeah,
don't know
but
if they'll cross paths, but maybe just like in spring training and whatnot, just
yeah,
to
but
talk.
Clark Schmidt, Michael
Yeah.
King on other unproven arms that maybe they're looking not just from the immediate help, but the more long lasting help he
Hmm.
can give, teaching these guys how to conduct themselves and how to do the right thing.
Yeah. So I think this was a smart move for the Yankees picking up Kluber. He's got
Yeah,
that veteran presence, and as you said, he's good with helping with the young guys. And if we've seen anything over the last decade and a half with Cleveland and their pitching staff, they've been pumping out some really good guys. So if Kluber was able to learn a bunch of stuff there and pass it along for the Yanks, it's real good for the Yankees pitching staff. What's not looking very promising though for the Yankees is Masahiro Tanaka. It rumors seem to be flying that he might go to Japan for this season. What are your thoughts on that?
well, it's probably because like everyone else to this point, the markets have not developed. That the starting pitching market has mostly been in a stranglehold because I'm not entirely sure that because of the asking price in the winter that waiting on Trevor Bauer is the big thing because only a handful of teams are really going to get for him.
Mm-hmm.
But Tanaka is clear in a way. I'd say the second best pitcher that's on the market in terms of age and experience. Now, it's not like there hasn't been any. The Padres have started to become connected on them, although today they just acquired Joe Musgrove in a three-team trade, their third starting pitcher that they've
Do the
traded
Padres
for.
even have room for another pitcher?
I mean, they might be looking at it in the fact that this season there's going to be very few, if any, pitchers that cross over the 180 innings. threshold just because of how short last season was. So they might be saying we're going to go temporarily to a 6-man rotation,
Mm.
and we'll just stockpile on all the arms because we have all these minor league guys that we're holding on to but have no room for. We'll use them to get guys that can help us. But maybe that's what they're looking at. They're looking at depth
I mean, that
instead
helped
of
the
roster
Yankees in
stuff.
2019, so.
Yeah, yeah. So there's some connection on that. Maybe similarly with John Lester, the veteran southpaw has been picked up by the
Nationals?
Nationals, who they have Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin, and Joe Ross, along with other guys like Eric Fede and Austin Vogt. So it, they could they definitely have had 5 guys I would say that I would put in already,
Mm-hmm.
and that lengthens it out. So
Yeah. And if, like, say Lester doesn't get part of the starting rotation, he could be a very good middle long reliever, or even do an opener. Which I heard there was talks, if you use an opener and then you switch your pitcher, you're gonna lose your DH.
uh, there were talks on that, but right at the moment,
Yeah,
everything would need to be bargained with
yeah. I
the
think that would be like the dumbest thing ever.
especially since in most cases, even in the and the I guess the other argument is punishing that with that for an not that's going to put in that. Where was I going with this?
It's
Hang
stupid, is
on,
what it is.
let me
Uh,
restart that. Let me restart that train of thought because I went somewhere and then you could just hear the train just
yeah,
stopping. Uh, the argument is that right now, even in the current National League format, after two two times batting, they usually lift the pitcher for a pinch hitter. The so I guess that's the idea of coming against this, that they're already losing that. At least in the National League, you're already losing that pitcher spot immediately. That you do the same if this happens in the American League, but it's still silly. It's needless gymnastics.
yeah, it's dumb. I really think they should just do DH for both leagues. I know you like it because of the tradition, but as you broke the news a while back, when we first found out about the universal DH for last season's abridged season, about how history almost had it, but a fishing trip with no cell phones way back when ruined it.
Yeah,
Um, but it just makes it easier. These pitchers don't like batting. Well, not all of them. There are some, but for the most part, it's an extra injury. Guys like Chim Wong have had their pitching careers derailed because of running on the base paths and doing other. It's just unnecessary work they need to be doing. Uh, it's a risk. It's boring. Unless if you're having Bartolo Colon go up there and being
I
like,
was
"Here, throw
going
me
to
a
say,
strike," and
going to
then
say you don't let Nick Bartolo Colon or Brandon Woodruff in the division series in 2018.
there's certain things, but like at the same time, I don't know.
No, I get what you mean.
But it's I don't know. I think they should just keep the DH. It definitely helped the Dodgers last year. Um,
But actually, I think they said that the I forget where I read it, but the national that the DH batting average actually went down this year and was worse in the National League as opposed to the American League.
yeah,
Now that
but that's on a 60-game schedule, so like
it's all
that's
yeah
hard to
small
do, and
bad sample size, but
yeah,
it's still funny how that stuff happens. What is not funny, unfortunately, is what has come out over with the New York Mets as um, uh, they have had to fire their general manager after just 37 days when it
yeah,
came out that he sent unsolicited messages to a foreign female reporter, including well, they culminated in the in the wiener pick.
Yep. Uh,
Uh,
so Steve Cohen, it basically came like after the news broke after 12 hours. Cohen's like, "You're fired," and he's like, "We have a no nonsense policy."
yeah,
So
but
uh, I'm gonna be interested to see what other things come out. Hopefully things don't. Hopefully the Mets are all nice and squeaky clean. But you know how
no, the
backdoor politics and other things.
the Mets are probably fine, but they realize that a guy who sent 62 unsolicited messages and couldn't get the hint had no place in
Yeah.
their thing. I wouldn't be surprised if the reason it took this long to fire him is like this broke at like nine at night. So
Yeah.
we're gonna fire him, but we can't get everyone in to officially fire him, so we'll
Yep.
just wait till the morning. What's
Yeah.
more concerning for baseball is where this came from, because Jared Porter is a protege of Theo Epstein.
Yeah. Who actually got a nice new job.
Yes, that's the problem. Theo Epstein is now hired as a consultant from for Major League Baseball to determine what changes should be coming in going over. And obviously, Jared Porter, this is a guy who did it once. He probably did it to several others, and it never got reported. But the problem is that what has come out is that the woman did bring it to someone in the Cubs front office. This was back when they're in the Chicago Cubs. The person said, "I don't want to take sides," and it died there. This was under Theo Epstein. They now need to figure out what happened after that. Did that unnamed official kill it right there? Did he bring it up to someone and they killed it? When did this chain officially end?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if within the next like couple weeks you have more people coming out with another Me Too movement.
Yeah,
Because this is something like pretty important that's going on. Like you said, what 62 messages?
62 unsolicited messages.
Yeah,
How
like
do you not get a hint
that's a lot. Like I'm not saying I can understand like 3 or 4 because like obviously that's not acceptable.
Yeah, it's still not acceptable no matter what.
Yeah,
especially.
But what I'm saying is like if it was like only a handful or something, it's like all right, dude, like you gotta knock it off, stop, and he like did it, and it was only like over the course of like 1 or 2 nights, whatever. Once again, not condoning sending messages like this, but 62 is like a ridiculous amount where like clearly this was not like a 1 or 2 night thing where he was just trying to be flirty in clearly the wrong Louis C.K. way. Like this was clearly a major problem, and this was somehow snuffed out, and like no one knew it. So
who snuffed it out? How far did this go up? Whose head needs to roll? Does it potentially even go all the way up to Theo Epstein or the Cubs ownership? They need to figure out, especially after how quick they did this with the Astros after 2019 and the Roberto Osuna comments that were in tragically poor taste.
Yeah.
That they need to figure out how far this goes and cut off the heads of everyone who's done it. Like Jared Porter is most likely never working in baseball again. Who else needs to join him?
I will say though, he does have a few World Series rings after working with Boston for like 12 years and with Chicago.
Yeah, unfortunately,
he's got his rings, so I guess that's all that matters to him now. But oof, he's gonna get some. He's gonna be blacklisted.
Yeah.
And some even more sad news we've had Tommy Lasorda pass away, and also Don Sutton now. So 2 longtime Dodgers.
Yeah, longtime Dodgers manager, longtime Dodgers starting pitcher who unfortunately got kind of the Don Mattingly treatment, in which he just missed the last World Series and retired just before the World Series prior. Let's see, because I know he's a tremendous starting pitcher though.
Yeah, over 300 games, Hall of Fame.
Never missed a single start in his entire career.
Yeah.
that was always took the ball whenever he was asked. But yeah, first broken at 1966, where they were swept by the Orioles the year before the Dodgers won the World Series over the Twins.
Hmm.
Lost in the World Series to the Yankees twice, and the Yankees twice, and Oakland once. Oakland once, then with the Brewers lost to the Cardinals, and then in '86 when he was with the California Angels, they were knocked out in the championship, a close championship series against the Red Sox. But yeah, and then he played. Well, he technically did play on the '88 Dodgers, but he was not part of the playoff roster for that year.
Hmm.
So take what you.
I mean, he probably was given a ring, but not like officially.
It's kind of like Xavier Nady was in 2009. Here you're on our roster. You did do some contributions, and
Hmm. Well, it's sort of like I think with Frank Thomas.
oh yeah,
In '05, he was it Frank Thomas? Yeah, yeah, because I think he was just there on the roster, whatever it was, and it was just like just at the end. Um, Maybe I'm mixing up my player. I don't remember.
yeah,
But anyway, yeah. So yeah, that's always sad when you have like such a great Hall of Fame career and you just can't get that championship. Those damn Yankees.
yeah,
But yeah, and then Tommy Lasorda passing away. That was rough.
yeah.
Um,
He's up in his 90s, so
yeah,
they're
but
missing a couple of greats. But also greats going on. We missed a bunch of football
yeah, there
on our
was
break.
lots of football going on. I think the biggest missing we did was the Pittsburgh Steelers missed the entire first quarter against the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, you, I think I expected the Browns to win. I didn't expect them to win quite like that. That on the very first play that the
Yeah,
Steelers
Marquise
fumble and
Pouncey is an all-pro center who I don't think I've ever seen have a bad snap. I mean, he's probably had a bad snap here or there, but like that was just awful. I don't know. I guess the Steelers' catching woes was getting to the quarterback now, where he couldn't even catch
see
the own snap, which is
see
not.
I
Big Ben's big, but like he's not Taco Fall 7'5" big.
no.
Uh,
See, I know what happened. The Steelers weren't actually there in the first quarter. They actually enlisted the Pittsburgh Pirates to come in for the first quarter, and it showed.
yeah, that
Uh,
was just now. What gets me is now the who is it? They played the Chiefs. The Chiefs and the Browns played this past weekend, and
yes.
I assumed the Chiefs were just gonna steamroll them because despite putting an 0-28 hole for the Steelers, Big Ben still threw for 501 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had 4 picks, uh, and then so they still came back, and I'm not saying it was a real close game, but like they could have gone for it. Like starting the fourth quarter, they had the ball at like mid yardage, and they elected to punt instead of keeping the ball and going for it on 4th and 1, which was honestly not a very good coaching decision. You have to go for it at this point because the Steelers were on a roll in that third quarter. So that's just bad decision making on Tomlin.
Yeah.
So they should have kept that and gone for it. But we come to the Chiefs and the Browns, and it looks like the Chiefs are gonna keep a nice lead going, and then the Browns decide to storm right before the end of halftime, and then all of a sudden they fumble the ball into the back of the end zone, and it's a touchback for the Chiefs. But if you look at the footage, the defensive guy on the Chiefs hits the guy, leads with his head, knocks the other guy on the Browns, and he fumbles the ball. Like that was the difference, and you can't challenge a play like that. And
No.
I really think with like all the rules you have, it's technically a turnover on downs, so you should be able to review it. And be able to review whether he was leading with his head, because even the announcers called it out right away. Like I don't know who's making up these rules or what they're looking in those booths, the referees, if they're the ones making the call, or if someone in New York's making the call, or New Jersey, or wherever it's
Whatever it is.
stationed. Um, Clearly, like, people aren't getting it right. Yes, I know the play wasn't reviewable, but like it should have been. It was super obvious. You can challenge pass interference plays, but you can't challenge a targeting leading with the helmet thing. I mean, like, this
They'll
is
make
just
it.
like ridiculous. I mean, yes, you don't want the game to drag out and be like 5 hours long, like a Yankee Red Sox
No.
baseball game. Um, but like certain things, like, come on, at this point, just let Twitter fight it out for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, just
Do like
take a
hockey. Let them punch each other. Let them
yeah.
punch
I
each
mean,
other.
it's like if you're gonna be calling plays like this on certain things, like, come on. And then of course, and that sort of turned it around because then the Chiefs were able to get a field goal out of it. And if they had a little bit more time, they probably would have gotten a touchdown because they drove right down the field.
Yeah.
Um, but that was a big killer because instead of it being like a 6 point game, now all of a sudden it's 19-3 at the end of the first half. Uh, I mean, I don't want to say lucky for the Browns, but the Browns had taken out Patrick Mahomes. He's now in concussion protocol, so he's still not, like, he's taken a couple steps, but he's still not cleared to play for Sunday. And Sunday's only like 5 days away as of
Yeah.
recording, so this is like really important because I don't think the Chiefs are going to win with Chad Henne. Yeah, he had a really good miraculous run to help get them to like 4th and inches, and then get the clock and convert on 4th down, which that was a really risky 4th down to do. They almost messed that up,
Yeah.
but they were able to salvage that. So if Mahomes isn't there, Josh Allen should just steamroll right over him because this is not the Chiefs' defense from a few years ago that was like basically lights out.
No.
Um, so this is going to be an interesting game.
Yeah.
My two picks for the Super Bowl, Packers and Bills, are still in there. I know we were talking about it before we were going that an angry Aaron Rodgers is probably not the one you want to mess with right now. So do you want
No.
to talk about that at all?
So yeah, and before we do, just a couple other recaps. The uh, the Buccaneers killed our dreams for the football team to be in the Super Bowl.
Hmm.
There is no football team in the upcoming Super Bowl.
Hmm.
The Colts and Bears, who we both said were the kind of meh teams,
Yep.
in predictably also got knocked out.
Titans couldn't get any running game
Yeah,
going,
yeah.
so
King
they were
Henry
done.
looked awful, and then the Ravens, who beat them, looked immediately as awful against the
Yep.
Bills next round. Seahawks, as all
Yeah,
season,
their
their
defense is
was
not the
terrible.
Legion of Boom anymore, and then the Rams went and turned up a goose egg as well. So
Yeah, yeah. The same. We already talked about the Browns and the Steelers, and then of course the divisional round series of the eight ages, straight from the retirement homes.
yep.
The Buccaneers and the Saints, where Drew Brees might have most likely played his last game of
And his
football.
last pass was an interception.
Of course.
Unless if
So
you
that-
count the Pro Bowl, which I don't even know if he was elected to that, but especially that he missed a bunch of games.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, this brings us to the conference championships.
which
Where,
this is important to know, though. Do you know where the Super Bowl is held this year?
no, where?
In Tampa Bay.
Ooh.
So
We might actually have a home team in the Super Bowl.
that's
for the first
never
time.
ever happened.
No.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if someone in the NFL is pulling some NBA type strings and fixing games to let Brady win. Be like, hey, I didn't need Bill all these years; it was me. Because he's made it to get again another conference final. This is like, what, 10 in a row or something with it. It's like completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I feel like he's made the conference finals every year since he's lost to the Jets that one year. Uh, this is just completely insane with what Brady's able to do. Um, yeah, Father Time's slowing him down a little bit, but oh God. I am kind of curious though how the Washington football team would have done if they were able to have Alex Smith play quarterback. I think that was the biggest
Yeah.
difference in that game was that they didn't have their quarterback. Um, so
Well, if they do make it to the Super Bowl, not only would they break the curse, they would also have the best record of the best season record of a home team, a Super Bowl home team. The record currently is 13-3 by the 2017 Minnesota Vikings, who who eventually lost to the Eagles. But yeah, that would put them into 14-5 and a Super Bowl title,
yeah,
and also the snapping of the curse.
yeah. So this is going to
But
be real interesting. But
yeah,
with Aaron
not
Rodgers though, your thoughts on him?
I was also going to say it's not just that's on the line. That it's the changing of the guard quarterbacks right now. Because
Mm-hmm.
regardless of who wins between the two championships, the AFC is going to is I got that right. The AFC, that's what the
Yep,
Bills are
AFC.
in. Yeah, with the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
The AFC is going to produce one of the new age quarterbacks, either Josh Allen for the Bills or a wrapped up Patrick Mahomes from the
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs. And then from the NFC, we have Tom Brady and pissed off Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
So
Rodgers is sort of it's
representing the
the
old superstars.
yeah. Well, it's sort of like a deja vu sort of thing because he was drafted while the Packers still had Favre, and yeah, he did sit for a couple of years behind Favre, but eventually it was like, all right, we got to play this guy or trade him because he can't be sitting here much longer, and
Yeah,
he went and outplayed Favre, Favre's last couple of years, and he won him a Super Bowl. Well, the Steelers
yeah.
lost that Super Bowl.
Hence says that.
Rodgers
Yeah,
didn't win
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But yeah, so Rodgers is sort of now in the boat where they have this young quarterback that's just sort of waiting and seeing. But Rodgers isn't done playing yet. I mean, he's probably locked up MVP for this year. Um,
They'd be stupid to trade him after this.
yeah, so he wins the Super Bowl. That's sort of like, yeah, I'm not done playing here. If you want to get rid of me and play this other guy, then I'll take my talents elsewhere. Um, which is why the Jets should hold on to their number 2 pick right now because they have Deshaun Watson lurking. He seems to want out of Texas. Um,
It's not he seems, he is demanding.
y-
He's
y-
more or less demanding it
yeah,
too. And
so
with him holding a no trade clause, that
he's
Deshaun
holding.
Watson can pick wherever he wants. He
Yeah,
can go he can go to Los Angeles for the rate for the
Sunshine.
for the Chargers. Not that I would do that.
Yeah,
He could go to the
yeah,
Jets.
because
Also,
Herbert's fairly decent.
yeah, the Jets. Also, I would not do that. The Giants would be a better option, honestly. They're
Well, uh, Alright, so the Jets have a lot of needs. Quarterback is obviously one, but the Jets hold 2 first-round picks this year. Um, what they would have to do to land Deshaun Watson is they would have to trade the number 2 pick, uh, and definitely next year's number 1 for a first-round pick. Uh, the Jets would still have their later first-round pick to pick up a wide receiver to go with to help Deshaun Watson have like a receiving core, and then obviously try and trade or find some guys in free agency.
yeah.
Um, but the Jets should not trade that pick because who did Jacksonville hire as their new head coach? Urban Meyer. Who was his quarterback in college? Justin Fields. So Myers said he wants Fields. Whether you pass on Lawrence for the guy you coached in college, I don't know. I still think you take Trevor Lawrence number 1 overall.
Well,
Um,
you also have other things to factor in there. The Saints are going to be hunting. I know
well, they
they
have
already
Jameis
have a
Winston, and I don't think Taysom Hill's really the answer.
yeah,
Um,
but with Deshaun Watson, maybe Jameis
yeah,
Wilson's one like in Tampa. He was in Tampa Bay
yeah,
last year,
Tampa
right?
Bay.
Yeah, they could once again be tossed aside for a better established court name.
Yeah,
You have you have other teams like 49ers who after this year could use about five of every position.
mm.
The there a guy
Well,
like
that's
Deshaun
also
Watson.
talk too, because the Jets had hired the defensive coordinator from the 49ers, and there were rumors maybe he trade for Garoppolo, but then there's maybe talks that they trade Garoppolo to the Patriots. So, but I honestly wouldn't want Garoppolo because he's been injured so often. I don't think he's played a full
Yeah,
season. So uh, there's a lot of ifs and ands and lots of open question marks in football here. I think obviously Deshaun Watson's going to be the biggest guy in the off season with Trevor Lawrence, but everything sort of falls with either Deshaun Watson finding a team first or the Jets trading that number two pick or using that number two pick. If I'm the Jets and Watson is interested in the Jets, I would hold on to that pick though, uh, and wait to see what the Jaguars do if they want Justin Fields or if they're going to take Trevor Lawrence, and then listen from there. And as much as you want to take Smith from Alabama as the wide receiver or Chase from LSU, as they're both probably the two top wide receivers in the league for college. Because the Jets definitely need wide receivers, so that wouldn't be a bad option at number two as well. Um, but there's a lot the Jets can do at number two, and that's like a really big domino to fall to set off everything else in this draft. Because Jets, I mean, Darnold's not awful. He's not very good, but if he can learn to get a team to be managed with a better offensive line and a good running game, and at least one and a half competent wide receivers, you can win games with him. I don't know about a Super Bowl, but you might be able to make a playoff appearance or two.
well, it's always the thing. Do you want to go for the ifs and the small, or do you strike? Do
Yeah,
you strike when you see a very known
yeah, yeah.
respected
I mean,
commodity
I
as
mean,
well?
what we've seen with Patrick Mahomes his first year, uh, everyone on that Chiefs roster was like, "Who is this guy? He's not very good. He's all over the place." And then he took the year behind Alex Smith, who seems to always bring up nice quarterbacks. Um, and Mahomes blossomed into the $500 million quarterback we know and love. Um, Josh Allen had a lot of accuracy issues coming out of college and even his first couple of years here in the NFL. And this year he has just been a cerebral assassin, just like Zoe's bark.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Our first Zoe interaction of the year, coming
yep,
near the end of our time, but
yep. And we still
we
have so much to talk about, so let's kick this into high gear
yeah.
here.
I was gonna say the one last big thing we got to talk about is in the NBA and the Nets that we've been talking for
Mm-hmm.
near the end of the year that James Harden wants out from the Rockets, partly because of the comment, the pro Donald Trump
Mm-hmm.
support of the Rockets owner. Uh, maybe because the Rockets keep missing. You want maybe because he can't get along with some of the players. They don't know the exact thing.
Yeah.
It could also be the Houston curse if you've ever watched Urinating Tree's
Hmm.
video on what happened after the Astros won the World Series.
Yep.
But that saga is now over. There's no more James Harden in Houston. There is now James Harden in Flatbush, in Brooklyn.
Yes. So this was a big sort of one. I mean, this reunites Kevin Durant with James Harden from the days the Oklahoma City Thunder I mean, Durant was an established star. Harden was an up and coming role player behind Durant and Westbrook, and now both guys are former MVPs.
And that
Durant's got 2 titles and 2 NBA Finals MVPs on his belt, and he's played alongside Stephen Curry, so he's got no problem sharing the limelight.
no.
Um,
And also add this into this now, Kyrie Irving, who is now finally uh, uh, is reporting with the team again,
yes, so
and it
this is
should
going
be
to be
back on the
real
court
interesting
Wednesday.
because Kyrie's a very smooth ball handler, and he could easily get the ball to Durant for an easy 2 pointer shot, or fake it and give it to Durant to Harden and take a nice 3 pointer. So this is going to be truly a force to be reckoned with. Um,
The only problem for the Jets is they
that's
basically bet the farm.
Yeah,
That
well, they
in
they did that before when they traded for Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, and that helped the Celtics out very nice.
Yeah, I was going to say that the Jets are the Jets
The Nets,
the Nets. Well, the Jets are too, and the
yeah,
Mets, but the Nets are kind of known for a kind of, or at least from what I've seen, going all in, mortgaging their future. It blows up, and then they're stuck for a decade trying to dig out from it.
yeah. So what's different with this is, while these aren't like 25-year-old guys, um, they're in their 30s. What are their ages? James Harden, he is 31, so they're in their early 30s, these guys, Harden and Durant. Um, so they're not like LeBron James where they're in their late 30s, which in regular standards, still young, but in
Yeah,
sports, uh, that's old once you hit like
yeah.
35.
The
Um,
more worrying thing for me is there are drafts that they forfeited their first round picks all the way through 2027 to the
yeah.
Houston Rockets. They do not have a second round pick in 2024, which is a few years away, but
Yeah.
it's
What's really you got to notice though about the NBA though is that I think there's only 3 rounds in the NBA draft, something like that.
yeah.
Um, so it's not like baseball where there's like 30 rounds of drafting and sub drafts and
Yeah, it's not. You'll find Albert Pujols in the 10th round. No, there
yeah,
is no
or
tenth
even with
round.
football where there's 7 rounds. Like basketball, it's you're drafted or you're not.
Yeah,
Very rarely do you get an undrafted player to do like really well in the league. Um, so this is really important because basically they're banking on these next 5 years with these guys uh, is going to give them a championship. But then at this point, once they retire, then you'll get your picks back, and at that point, you're going to start at the bottom because not very often do you get an all rookie team to lead you to the final. So they either have to like make trades and
the highs are going to be very high, but then the crash is
yeah,
going to be big.
they're going to crash or they're just going to have to keep mortgaging the future.
But hey, look on the bright side. Basketball is back in New York. Like it's been how many
Yeah, it's been
decades since
too
it's been
too
relevant?
long. The Knicks have been too terrible for too long because James Dolan's an idiot.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
the Dolans themselves are idiots. Look
mm,
at Cleveland.
yeah. So this is some interesting big news. Um,
And this isn't even talking about some of the smaller things. Liam Hendricks to the White Sox.
mm,
We have the. As I said, look, we didn't delve that deep into Deshaun Watson. We
yeah.
could have.
For the NHL, hockey's back. Just to talk real quick, now former Chicago Blackhawks goalie Corey Crawford has retired. He had COVID back in 2020, and he just didn't seem to feel right.
Yeah,
So maybe it's COVID taking a work on his health. I mean, former Rangers netminder Henrik Lundqvist was supposed to be the backup goalie for the Washington Capitals, but he had to have open heart surgery, which he got last week, I believe,
Yeah. And we
because
still, yeah.
because of COVID. So like he's had health issues like this in the past, but COVID sort of like made this even worse. So who knows what repercussions we're gonna see. Like not everyone can be Freddie Freeman and have 105 fever and win MVP.
I don't think
Uh,
anyone wants to be that type of
no
Freddie
one
Freeman.
wants that, but uh, some of these guys who just like barely had anything are having like so many repercussions just in
Well, I
their
mean,
cardio and
look,
everything else.
yeah,
Um,
Eduardo Rodriguez. We don't know what timeline yet. So
yeah, like
he's still on the mend after his
for
infection.
the NHL, it says that where is it here? Um, Players who test positive must also be cleared by both a cardiologist and a team physician before returning to the ice. So this is clearly like a bigger thing right now, especially that you got to be tested by the cardiologist.
Yeah,
Um,
especially since we don't, no one knows what the long term repercussions
yeah,
will
this has only been a year and we already have a vaccine. Like this is seriously uncharted territories.
be. Yeah,
And how the
incredibly.
playoffs work for the NHL, they're going to have their traditional 16 teams, best of seven format, but this has all been division play. Um, so everyone in the West plays the West team, Central plays the Central, East plays the East, North plays the North. You don't play, there's no crosstown playing at all, unlike what we got in baseball. Well, I mean, baseball played the East, but it was the AL East and NL East, and then so forth for the other divisions.
Yeah, but it's
But
mainly
this is
because
strictly like you're only playing your division, and they're grouping games together, which is why we saw the Islanders shut out the Rangers 4-0 in the opening series, and then the Rangers shut out the Islanders 2 nights later 5-0.
yeah,
So we're gonna get games close together, just for traveling restrictions. But when it comes time for the playoffs, the top four seeds in each division will play. Which, as we talked about, the East has the Bruins, Sabres, Devils, Islanders, Rangers, Flyers, Penguins, and Capitals. Of those teams, I think the Sabres and Devils are the only ones that aren't really going to do anything. So that leaves the Bruins, Islanders, Rangers, Flyers, Penguins, and Capitals. 6 teams to fight out for 4 spots. And that's if the Devils have a bit of a rebound season, which is hard, but it's hockey. Things can happen. Um, so it's a really tough division for that, and you're only going to get 4 of those teams, and then they got to play each other, and then the playoffs sort of like get reseeded again, and then they go again, and then they get to the finals. So we can have teams that like would normally like be in a division together. Like I think the Canadians and the Bruins were in the same division,
yeah,
um, and they could play each other in the Stanley Cup Finals,
yeah.
which is crazy. But you know what? Things are happening. So I don't know what we'll see out of this. It's definitely going to be interesting. Whether people are going, I mean, it's going to be considered a legit finals win, but
It's gonna be weird.
yeah, it's going to be weird. But that's even if everyone makes it this far, because everyone was so good in the bubble for hockey and basketball in 2020 once everything's restarted back up. But we've had basketball games postponed, I think, like 5 or 6 times already since the season started, including opening night. So hockey players have been testing positive. Games are, I think the Predators game is postponed for tonight. So I don't even know if we're gonna get these seasons to finish.
Well,
Um,
it's the argument of if they start now, that you have two options. You start now or you wait. If you wait, you will everyone will be healthy, but you also have very little wiggle room to play with. And the NHL came out and said we lost billions of dollars last year because they're the poorest of the four
yep.
big leagues,
Mm.
and they said they would save more money by not playing at all, but it would permanently harm the NHL brand for the next decade.
Yep.
So the best they can do is just start well, not on time, but start at a time where they can reset for the 2021-2022 season. And if there are delays, so be it. But they have plenty of time to get those games back in, if to make as much of a semblance of a legitimate season as they can. There are going to be some games that obviously are missed, but that's what basketball is going for. That's what hockey's going for. That's
Yep.
what baseball is going to go for. Since they said there will be an on-time spring training,
Yep.
that's going to be sports in 2021. 2020 was the pause and then the bubbles. 2021 is bludgeon through normalcy.
Yeah. So this is going to be interesting because as much as people want to watch sports and how boring this summer was without sports, um,
There are
y-
also some things that are bigger than sports.
yeah, there's things that are bigger than sports. Because you know who pays all these sports athletes all their money? Yes, the
We do.
owners, but it's the people who go to the games that buy the concessions and buy the tickets and all the jerseys and everything else. It's the hardworking people that are basically putting their money in. And if some of these people aren't working or are sick, and because they're sick and they can't work, they can't afford to spend their money on all this stuff. So teams are complaining about losing billions of dollars. Well, it's because we can't afford to go to the games.
Yeah.
So, as much as you want to say, "Oh, have the athletes cut in line and get their vaccines," it's like, yeah, but just because they're able to play doesn't mean people are going to be able to be healthy enough to go to these games.
Right.
So, the smart thing is let the regular people get vaccinated. And these rich guys, well, not all hockey players are rich. I forget who it was. He actually owes like a whole bunch of money. Vander Kane, I
Mm.
think it is. He just like did some like crazy stuff and like owes like I don't know like $40 million or something. He did some like really stupid stuff.
Yeah.
So he basically is making no money at all. But
Yeah.
hockey players
But
don't make much money to begin with compared
no.
to the other three major sports. So
But
yeah,
yeah. Yeah. But yeah. The fans are going to be what drives this back, and hopefully by the end of this year it'll be healthy and be able to do that. But that I think we will save for next week, as we tried to get everything we could have,
yeah.
but
Oh,
there's
and apparently Sarah Thomas to become first woman to officiate a Super Bowl. Um,
yeah.
so we're gonna have that. So record-breaking stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, Joe, it's been a pleasure as always in the new year.
Yes, hopefully we don't miss any crazy news.
Oh, we will. We
Yeah, classic us.
All right. We'll see you next
All
week.
right, see ya.